7 o'clock planning board time. Thank you everyone for coming. This is the planning board meeting for the town of Sutton. It was scheduled at 7 p.m. on January 7th. Under general business, all the board members had got a copy of the minutes. I'd like a motion to approve them.
Make the motion, we approve it.
Second.
Any comments? Any corrections? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Abstained.
3-0-1. Because you were absent.
I was absent.
Yeah, okay. Not good to be absent. We put you on committees.
I was in Florida. Oh, yeah? I didn't know, things I don't know.
You
I
didn't
should
hear
read-
what we appointed
I
you
should
to.
read, I should read.
Keep miss a few more, pal. We have a filing for 214 Boston Road.
It's actually 211. I just wrote it messy, sorry.
Okay, 211.
That was the preliminary subdivision. It's a preliminary subdivision plan. That was for the open space subdivision that you previously saw. So they're gonna file a preliminary subdivision plan for 3 or 4 lots that would become an open space subdivision. So that's all, that's been legally filed. So we will have a meeting on that preliminary plan upcoming shortly. That no hearing is required on a preliminary plan. They're really just kind of seeking your informal input, though they are actually voluntarily sending out notice to the abutters because they'd like to know their comments up front as well. Okay?
So for the public, 211 Boston Road
Mhm.
is heading down the hill
Mhm.
on the right.
Mhm.
You describe.
Up and down, and right before you get to the villas at Pleasant Valley entrance is on the right. There's a little one single-family house on it.
7 acres.
So that house would go, and then you'd put in, like similar to Wainwright Drive, which abuts the land on the other side. You do a little cul-de-sac. An open space subdivision has smaller lots, and then the balance of the land gets permanently preserved.
Okay. So we acknowledge that
Those are the filing.
that there's been a filing. All right, stay tuned. My notes say there are no Form A plans.
There are none.
So we need a Forest Edge update.
Forest Edge update's pretty easy. I did give you a copy of the conservation restriction package that was filed with the state. And that includes the baseline report that my office prepared. There was all photographs and a map and blah, blah, blah. So that's been submitted. The state has sent us a letter acknowledging it's been received, and I have had communication with Denise Pierce, who's in charge of that review. So now that'll be reviewed by the state. When those comments come back to us, at that point, town council will take a look at that commentary and a quick look at the CR. And then, we'll make those changes, and then it goes to the Conservation Commission to accept, the Board of Selectmen to approve, and then the whole package goes back to the state for the secretary's signature and then filing. So that's well underway. You also have in front of you the site plan that was required for Forest Edge by condition number 3 of the special permit amendment for the open space provision. So we would need a motion to endorse that site plan. And then once that's endorsed, the special permit gets recorded tomorrow, I believe, and they'll enter that recording information up top. And then we'll get copies of all of that back, you know, the endorsed copies back. One for the assessors, one for the town clerk, and one for us.
First of all, for the public, before I turn to the board, Forest Edge is on the other side of 146 in Wilkinsonville. And it's a phased project, it's condominiums. When did it start? It's been a long road with a lot of turns. We're anxious to be done with this. The people who are living in the condo association is anxious, and the developer is anxious to move this off of our agenda. So you're happy they did everything we asked them to do?
Right, yeah. I've been working with town council. Obviously, I do the initial work so we can save money on like legal work. So, no, I've been working with town council, they've reviewed the site plan, and, like I said, the CR, I had them use the state standard contract, so there's no guesswork there.
Good.
And, which is why there'll be a very brief review by council, because we're using the standard format.
Okay.
And, so this is a condominium project, it's about 80 units, and it's about half built. They've started phase 2. They asked for some revisions to the special permit to remove some land for the open space, and part of that permit required them to file a new site plan showing the removal of the area from the open space. And so that is the site plan that's required per that approval. And the conservation restriction, they have to permanently protect the open space for this project, and that's about 60 acres total in Grafton and Sutton. So that CR that we're talking about is a conservation restriction that will permanently protect all of that open space area. So those things are moving forward. The CR has to be moving forward for them to get any more occupancy permits. So they're good right now, and that has to be signed, for them to get any more building permits. I am holding 2 building permits, pending the board's, vote to approve that and the signature.
I make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
All right.
And the
That,
site
that
plan
means
is-
we can have a discussion if there's any discussion from board members?
And I believe the date on that is 1/2/19 with a revision date of 1/4/19, is that correct?
1/2/19, and revision is 1/4, yep.
Okay.
Hearing no comments from the board, any comments from the public? Okay, then, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 4-0-0. We're making progress.
We are making progress.
Do I sign it, or does everyone sign it?
Everybody needs to sign that one.
We'll do it after the meeting.
Yeah, right.
Because we like to stay on schedule. Next are our board vacancies. We find ourselves here tonight with a previous board member running for selectman and getting elected. So Jonathan is now on a selectman, so he can't be on the planning board, and he's an elected.
He was elected, so Wally slid into his position.
Wally Baker was an alternate that we had on the board because we always want to be able to have a quorum and to move forward and conduct business for everyone that shows up at these meetings. So he slid into the seat, but he's gonna have to run.
Election.
Next year.
Run
Or no, this year.
for election. And then at our last meeting, after a whole bunch of years on the board, Wayne Whittier offered his resignation. He doesn't want to be on the board anymore. Wayne is also an elected position, and for me it was hard, but I have to accept his resignation and thank him for good service. So that creates a second spot on the planning board. And then we also have, we always want to have an alternate present so that we can conduct business if a board member goes to Florida or does something on business, because everyone has lives. So that's our challenge. We've had 3 people come forward and say they were interested in the positions. I guess when this started, it was just the vacancy for the alternate seat. Now we find ourselves with 3 slots, if you will. And we've got, so we have to make a decision and make a recommendation to the selectmen. And then the selectmen decide if they want to take our recommendations, or can they appoint someone if they want?
Yes, they can.
So-
They always ask for the board's recommendation. As you summarized, that first position that John vacated, we recommended that they appoint our associate member, Wally Baker, who'd been with the board for a while. Wally slid into that position until the next election, which is upcoming. And immediately slid into a vice chair position too, so kudos to Wally. So now Wayne resigned, so we have that position open, a full member position, and that we would recommend somebody into that position, again, until the next election, then they'll have to run for it. So this year you'll see 2 planning board elected positions open, and the town clerk, as members come in to pull papers, the town clerk will tell you, this position is for so many years, and you'll decide which one you're running for. Hopefully we have a member running for each of the 2, one of each position instead of them both running for the same position. But you can do that. And then we want at least 1 associate. Per our charter changes last June, we can have up to 3 associate members, which is a change in the charter as of last June, which is really awesome, other than trying to fit everybody at the table if we actually had that many. But so we have the ability to appoint up to 3 associates. As you noted, Bob, we have 3 people who have expressed interest. Mr. Michael Gagan, right there. Kyle Bergson, right there. And Bill Talcott, right there. Okay. So, and each of these members bring a number of skills to the table. And they're here if you have any additional questions of them. The board had previously talked to Mr. Gagan and Mr. Bergson. Bill Talcott was an actual former member of the board, who some of the board members know and some do not. So they're here if you have any questions. And then we will make a recommendation, who we think should be appointed to fill the full member position, and 1 or 2 associate spots, based on your discussion and your deliberation. And then the selectmen get those recommendations, they can go in a totally different direction. That hasn't been the case to date, but they certainly can. And these gentlemen were all invited to the selectmen's meeting tomorrow night as well, in case the selectmen have questions.
I'll ask each board member to weigh in, but the other thing that Jen isn't telling you is that, and one of the reasons I stay on the planning board is the chair seat for us is for 1 year. So whoever sits in this seat does it for 1 year, takes all the hits, does all the stuff, no matter what's coming down the pike. I'm looking at Bill Talcott, who got the chair seat the last time he was on the board, and that's when the Home Depot thing happened, and we got sued, and it was like, so for him it was a baptism of fire. That's not why he left. Life gets busy, but he got thrown into it. So that people who apply to the seat, to the board, need to know that it's. I tell people it's not. There's zoning. There's only certain things that we can do, and there's certain things we can't say yes to. So it's not particularly hard, but it's an interesting seat to sit in with John running for office and getting elected. I was vice, so I have to do his half. Then it's my turn. But we rotate the chair seat out, so we always have a full board of members that have been chairperson before. Everyone runs the meeting differently than other people, and if I wasn't here tonight, someone would have to step in. Some people would moan and groan, others say, thank God, I don't have to let Bob run it, because we all do things differently. But that's the way the planning board works. And most importantly, the alternate isn't a substitute. We expect them to be at every meeting. It's important that they be here so they know everything that's going on. Stuff happens and people can't make it to meetings. Lawyers, architects, people show up at these meetings, and they're paid, and if we don't have a quorum, we can't do business. So as a planning board, we want to always have a plan in place and a full roster, and never have to apologize. And I think we have had to apologize to anyone coming into Sutton and say, I'm sorry, we haven't got enough people on our team to move this forward. So that's how it works. It's my 2 cents.
And the associate is a kind of a grooming ground to move to member, because members do move on, like Bill moved on to spend time with his kid, silly. And then you have an associate who's seasoned and can move into that position and provide stability. So the associate is really meant to slide into the full member position over time.
I'll start with you today, Scott.
So I assume because you're all three here, that this is still on top of mind, that you're interested in being in this position,
Sure.
right? And that this concept is important, that the alternate would transition into being on the board without concern for conflicts and things like that. So as long as that's clear, this is probably unprecedented. I've been on the board a long time, that we have this much interest in the planning board. So we normally run unopposed and no challenges on the appointments. So this is encouraging and quite interesting position to be in. So thanks for stepping up to the plate.
Walt?
Well, as the individual that just got on here in an official capacity a few months ago, I'd say one of the points I'd like to pick up on that Jim managed, that occurred to me during my 3-year seasoning period or whatever it was, is that a number of these hearings and events that we have go on over a period of months. And if you haven't attended all the sessions, you can't vote. It's either that or you have to watch it on TV,
You
which,
can only miss one
yeah.
and watch it on TV.
But, yeah, so I say attendance is extremely important, and what we might do tonight, nothing might happen until 3 months from now, but then it'll come up again, and we'll have had to have the background from whatever we discussed tonight. So there has to be a lot of, I would call continuity, and occasionally you do miss a meeting, but, because of other circumstances, but I think it's very important to be here every time we have a meeting.
This is a wonderful board to serve on. I will be not renewing, if you will. I don't know when my term is up.
2020.
So the alternate seat is going to be filling a permanent,
Appointed?
official seat.
You appointed or do you?
I was appointed
Yes,
originally.
she's appointed.
But
Okay.
I was also, an alternate and came through that way, and that was a great experience. So if someone finds themselves in the alternate position, don't worry, it's only gonna be a year or two.
Okay. Anyone of the candidates, you have any questions for us?
I just wanna say that, Bill Talcott, 17 Marsh Road. And I know what you're saying about the associate position not being the full-time piece, but I am interested in the associate position. And maybe there's a little leeway there, you can miss a meeting or two. And certainly I understand the fact of the continuity, and you have to be at all the public hearings to be able to vote. But, and if the board is a functional board, not dysfunctional, I would certainly be amenable to becoming a full member down the road. But at this point,
It's dysfunctional.
I didn't say that. I have-
What are you inferring?
No, I'd have to see if you are telling me that a lack of functionality, and then down the road becoming a full-time member.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
So that's not a conflict. I'm hearing that. Okay. Do you want a motion? What do we-
Anything
what
to
do we-
add, Mike or Kyle, anything you wanna say?
No, I think I would just say I have come the last few months to the meetings, kind of getting a feel for what happens in the board. I think, it's an interesting position that I'm interested in. I have served on 2 committees in the past in Worcester. One of them was a community development corporation we formed for 20 years. I'm on the Worcester County St. Patrick's Day Committee. 15 years later, I'm still on it, so I think
That's something right.
when I do join Sutton, I stick with it and show up. I look forward to however I serve.
Thanks, Mike. You wanna say, you don't have to say anything, just,
Just looking forward to having the possibility to serve in the town. I think it's a great board to serve, so
Okay, so we have to make a recommendation.
Who to what?
Who to what, and when you're the
Alright.
chairperson.
And making it clear that particularly with the spot, taking Wayne's spot, whoever you recommend to that, if appointed by the selectmen, that person will have to run for that spot. They'll have to pull papers and run for that spot come April or whenever it is. The associate members will just, the selectman's office sends out letters to anybody who's an associate, asking if they are interested in continuing as an associate. And you just need to get back to them and say, yes, I'm interested in continuing. So that's how the associate works. So I just wanna make it clear that whoever you recommend for that full member spot is going to have to pull some papers and do a little bit of work to, like Wally, you can tag team it, and, to get into that permanent position.
And Mariam, you're an elected.
No, she's appointed.
She's appointed.
3 of the planning board
She's
members
appointed,
are
okay.
elected, and 2 are appointed by the Board of Selectmen. So,
Okay.
If Miriam leaves in 2020, if I don't convince her otherwise by then, whoever will slide slide by appointment, and that's usually when you're doing an appointment, an associate is an appropriate transition, to that appointed spot.
So you have to run, you're running in the spring? Is that what you said?
Molly's running in
Yeah,
the
'cause
spring, and whoever.
Cause I took Jonathan's place.
So there are gonna be 2 people running for 2 slots,
Two
at
people
least,
for 2
on the
slots,
town,
and there'll
in
be
the
2
town.
different terms, and the town clerk will be the one who's looking at the schedule and deciding, is this a 1, 2, or a 3-year planning board term?
So that, as a chairperson, I guess I get to make the recommendations, for us to continue functioning. And my recommendation, would be to appoint, Mike Gagan, to the vacant seat,
To Wayne's vacancy?
to Wayne's vacant seat, and I'm happy that there's an opportunity to have 3 alternates. So if Bill Talcott and Kyle would both be appointed to the alternate seat, we'll be in good shape and we'll be able to continue to conduct business, as we move forward. Wait for the next shoe to drop. That's my recommendation, so I need a motion.
Oh, is it a motion?
Uh,
you
it-
mean,
uh,
or a
you
recommendation?
recommend
No,
that the
I'll make that as a motion, yeah,
Oh, you're
I'll
gonna
second
make a
that then.
chairperson
thank you.
motion?
Another unprecedented.
Yeah, and then we can have any discussion, if someone,
You guys can jump in if you hate something there.
any discussion?
Well, does Mike understand what that means? Based on what he's saying, to come on the board to fill Wayne's spot, you have to run, pull papers.
Yes.
Okay.
Coming up. Not now. You're on for now.
On
If the
until,
selectmen
on
appoint you
until,
tomorrow.
right.
Okay.
All right, and a motion, a second?
Second?
Oh, we had a second
All
already.
right, any further discussion?
You made the motion.
All right, yeah, I wanna
You
move.
made the second. Okay.
I'm looking at the agenda, and 7:10, we're supposed to have a public hearing. I like to be on time, so.
We're working on it.
So I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Thank you, guys.
4-0. Thank you very much.
There we go.
Okay.
All right. We have a bond for 219
Whitens Road.
Whitens Road.
Mr. Wendell is here to answer any questions, but let me summarize. It's winter, and the top course paving isn't done, the landscaping isn't done, a few items aren't done, and it's likely that Mr. Wendell will like to get at least temporary occupancy or partial occupancy on a few of the units he has for occupancy down at 219 Whitens Road. So, as requested by Graves Engineering, he presented a summary of what was uncompleted work. John Kuchar took a quick look at it to see if it seemed pretty accurate, and then it went to Jeff Walsh at Graves Engineering to verify the amount, which was $43,000. So, if the board agrees, we need a motion to execute a lender's agreement with Millbury National Bank in the amount of $43,000 to secure the uncompleted work on the site. The only thing we need to add into that is a performance date. I would suggest that be maybe mid-June, June 15th potentially. And then we will execute, I'll work with Chris and Millbury National to just execute that paperwork, and when it's ready, you can sign it because you'll have the motion undertaken. So just a motion to establish basically a lender's agreement in the amount of $43,000 for uncompleted work.
I'll make a motion that we accept the lender's agreement in the amount of $43,000 for uncompleted work at 219 Whitens Road.
Need a second?
Second.
Thank you, Marion.
Didn't we want a time in there?
With the performance date of
For a completed performance date of 6:30,
Yeah.
6:30,
in June.
19?
Sure.
Good?
You want 6:30?
Or six-
Okay.
So we have the motion, we've had a second, that means the board can have a discussion. Anyone, any discussion from the board? If, and then that will allow Chris to rent out some space.
Yeah, he'll be able to get some temporary and or partial occupancy through the building department. He can't have final occupancy, like his golden seal of approval, until he's done with all the work, but the work will be secured.
So of the units that are there, you have what, 9?
Yes.
How many would be considered for this period of time?
You can put a limit on it. The building commissioner won't let anybody move into any unit until it meets code, the unit itself. So, but you can, if you wanna kinda make it even more restrictive, you can say a maximum of 2 units or a maximum of 3 units until he's done.
I wanna support a business, so, how many units would you,
I mean, I'd like all if possible, I mean,
you want?
really the only thing that's not done is top coat and landscaping, and it's just because of the weather, so. Everything's safety-wise, everything's been completed,
Okay.
so it's really just,
So you want,
Some
oh, it's
plants
not, it's not gonna be
and
half
top
full, you'd like it to
Yeah.
be all the way full. And if I understand this right, and then if June 3rd comes and the pavement isn't down, then everyone has to move out?
Yeah, no. You could potentially cease and desist all of those businesses, which you wouldn't wanna have to do.
Right.
Which, you know, might be a good case for just saying you can only have this many just to light a fire, but you also have his money. So, under the terms of the agreement, you actually get an easement to enter onto his property too,
And pave
and
everything.
complete the work. So you
And
can
how long does
just
that take?
pull
2
the
years?
bond.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, you'd have a public hearing and then you can pull it.
We-
A lender's agreement is a little easier. Hopefully you wouldn't have to do.
Being that you're a resident of the town of Sutton and a businessman in town, I would think you wouldn't want
I
that
wanna
to
finish
happen.
it as quick as possible, yes.
Right.
Any other board members? Any comments from the public?
So, why don't we ask for an update then, all right? 3 months from now,
Update.
so let's say you come in and say, I've got it fully occupied, okay, great, so in the next 3 months, you know, there's plans to finish this, so we're not talking
Well, as
about
soon
this
as
in
weather
July.
breaks, I'm gonna finish, but
Well, I understand that, but,
in 3 months, I won't have been able to do anything. We're only gonna be in March.
but you may have occupancy, right? You may
Yeah.
have people signing in. So just wanted to get an update.
Okay.
Keep in front of it,
Got
that's
it.
all.
An update.
So do you want him to just do that
April?
through my office to
You can do that that way, I'm not asking you to come in necessarily, but just so we know what's going on, so
Okay,
we're no
yeah.
surprises come June 30th.
So sometime in March, you need to just pop an email and say, all right, this is where we are now.
Okay.
Well,
Getting ready to-
March into April, because that's, we're a week or so into January.
Okay,
All right,
vote.
so the motion is to accept.
Execute a bond, a lender's agreement.
Execute the bond, get an update by April 1st,
At the latest, yep.
so we know how many actually are rented out, and make sure we're all aiming at the June date for the job to be completed and all the money to change hands like it's supposed to. Another successful business moves to Sutton. Thank you, Chris. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. 4-0-0. Thanks for coming in, Chris.
Thank you.
All right. Any other correspondence?
No, we're good.
All right, 7:10 planning board time. We have a public hearing on a retreat lot at number 100 Osbury Road.
Could somebody read that hearing notice, please?
In accordance with the provisions of section 6H of the Sutton zoning bylaw, the planning board will hold a public hearing on the application of 95 Ormsby Road LLC, Sutton, Mass. The applicant seeks a special permit for a 6.21 acre retreat lot with 50.5 feet of road frontage. This lot will be created from land owned by the applicant, located at 6 Burnap Road, and a petition of land owned by McGill Associates, Inc. at 100 Ormsby Road, where the lot frontage will be located. This hearing on this application will be held in the third floor meeting room at the Town Hall on Monday, January 7th, 2019 at 7:10 PM.
Can everyone see the board or the plan?
One or the other.
Maren, you can see it from there, we want
And I
to.
can
You got
just do-
okay. All right, good. Thanks for coming in. You can introduce yourself to, we know who you are, but everyone else.
Good evening, my name is Byron Andrews, I'm with Andrews Survey Engineering. I'm representing 95 Armsby LLC and McGill Associates. We're seeking to create a retreat lot with access off Armsby Road. Just to refresh everyone's memory and for anyone that wasn't here before, the original intent was to have access off Burnap Road. However, because of monuments that were found subsequent to the initial survey, the width on Burnap Road is actually 49.8 feet instead of the required 50 feet, so it's about 3 inches short. In lieu of that, we have designed an access coming in off Armsby Road that would be a constant 50-foot in width. We would do that by taking that strip from the abutting lot, which is at the present time not a buildable lot. It is just a parcel. So we take a strip from here, and also in order to give it the sufficient area based on the original recorded plan from 2014, we would also add a strip here so that it has enough land area to satisfy the town requirements.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Not yet.
So you do have a memo dated December 17th, that is the planning department review. The commentary in the Form A checklist, all of that commentary has been addressed and corrected on the plans. There are 4 minimum conditions of approval recommended in that memo.
You got my copy.
And you also have some departmental comments, if you wanna go through those, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. The first comment comes in from the police chief, Dennis Toll, and it says, okay. Second comment comes in from the fire department, no issue. Comments from the fire department. The next comment comes from the Conservation Commission. Joyce Smith says they have filed and will be here on January 9th. And from the tax office, that they do not owe any taxes in the town of Sutton. As a matter of conducting business, we only do business with people that are current. And unfortunately, sometimes people don't realize they're not current, so you gotta get current to get on the agenda. And those,
And
those
I-
are the comments?
Yeah, and I also put in front of you an email dated, this afternoon from John Patterson. And they are at 1808 Armstrong Road, Patterson Street. Okay, so John is here. John, did you wanna speak to that directly, or you want them to read that letter into the record?
No, I'll speak to that. So
Okay.
we had, so we live at the corner, that's, abutted on two sides by this lot. And we had previously had concerns about the drainage coming down from Burnap, into that strip off of Burnap. So, we really just have three, concerns. Two of them are pretty minor, but wanted to bring them to the board's attention. One of those would be, there is a stone wall along the entrance to there, I believe within the 50 feet. I don't know if that matters or not, but I did wanna bring that to the board's attention. Second is, I believe there are some town trees that will have to be removed, for the entranceway, but I'm no surveyor, so I don't know if they're actually on that 50 feet, but again, wanted to make sure that if there are town trees being removed, that the proper procedure is being followed. And, the third issue is that, there's water that, so there's a culvert under Armsby Road that, crosses, and 95 Armsby LLC has a drainage easement on our property where you see the numbers 187.1. That's their drainage easement there. There's then a culvert that goes west from there, and takes the water from there into, the brook. So that culvert crosses under where the proposed driveway is, and so we, would wanna make sure that there's some provision that the water, that the country club is passing from their parking lot onto our property continues along its way, so that it doesn't, so that culvert's not damaged in the process of building the driveway, and then we end up with a lake.
You didn't buy waterfront property.
We didn't.
All right. Thank you.
So I did, just based on those concerns, you'll see on the bottom of that letter that was submitted, I drafted you some possible additional conditions that would address those concerns, and I don't think the applicant is going to this one today. So we'll go over them.
Any other comments from the public?
I'm actually sort of curious what happens.
Just give us your name, please.
Name and address.
Name and address for the record.
Ron Porter,
Hi, Ron.
96 Armsby.
Thanks for coming in.
And I'm just curious about the area 100, it's sort of next to abutting the road, like what's happening with that space? So, if you don't mind, I'll just
No.
explain. So this,
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't do that on purpose, I swear.
so just this area here, because it seems like the road's gonna come in this way, so what's happening, is that all staying the same, or is that being dealt with as well, or?
It's not gonna be developed.
Okay, so just, okay, just wanted to check in on that.
What was the answer? I didn't hear the answer.
It's not gonna be developed. We think that should stay with the country club. You know, if we ever need some additional parking, it's good to have a place to put additional people, if there's a major event. We need access to get into the back, you know, they do use it for a brush dump. and,
Okay.
You know, the compost back there and stuff. When the villas were built, they left no land whatsoever for us on the course to do any of this stuff. So it's
Okay.
vital that we have somewhere to, you know, do some composting and things of that nature. If that's not out by the road, that'll be out in behind.
Good question.
Oh, that's important, yeah.
Yeah, and thanks for the answer, but I didn't get who you were.
Oh, Jay McGill,
Okay.
McGill Associates in
All right,
Grafton.
okay. Thank you.
I actually have a question, Tim Train at 90 Armsby. How many houses are we gonna put on this lot?
Just one.
Just one house? So you're not gonna strip the whole thing out of all the trees and, no?
No, it's just one house going in there.
Okay.
Do we know where on the lot, sorry, I'm his wife. Do we know where on the lot it's going?
It would be, let me try this.
Oops, sorry.
This one, it's a little better. Kind of in this area over here.
Are you gonna strip the whole lot out of all those trees though?
I don't know what the plans are to do that. I don't believe so.
Okay. Cause sometimes people, they just come in and just wipe the whole entire lot out and it would be,
Yeah.
That's a lot of cutting.
well, I know, they do it.
The only restriction in the town of Sutton on tree cutting is within, Conservation Commission jurisdiction. So anybody on any lot, anywhere in the town, can cut as few or as many trees as they want down on their land, as long as it's not in conservation jurisdiction that's legal in the town of Sutton. If it's within conservation jurisdiction, then you have to file a notice of intent, and generally the rule is 1-for-1 replacement on trees. So I just wanna give you a realistic read on that in the town. You could, he could, anybody could clear anything and everything on their lot that's not in conservation jurisdiction. I just
But I
don't know
believe
why.
this is, right?
A lot of this is within jurisdiction, yeah. Anything within 100 feet of those flag wetland lines.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay?
Does that go for the driveway as well?
If it's within jurisdiction, yeah.
Within 100 feet of the wetlands?
Yeah. Mhm. Alright.
Any other questions from the public? Back to the board.
So I think that there might be, you know, there was comments about the trees taken down in the driveway and the stone wall. We would ask, I imagine that the stone wall be,
Yeah, so the proposed conditions that I would recommend to respond to those concerns are, the first two are just in accordance with state law and our local bylaws. If there is a stone wall along that Armsby frontage, you need to show it on your plan. And if that stone wall is on or along the Armsby roadway right-of-way, you cannot alter that wall, or remove any trees in or on the Armsby Road right-of-way without a public hearing. The stone wall itself, that's not a scenic road, but the stone wall itself is just a boundary marker. That is our shared boundary marker between the town's right-of-way and your lot. So we just need to agree on the break that can be made, if one has to be made for access into the lot. The town and the applicant just have to agree. The trees would, if they're inside the roadway right-of-way, those are public shade trees, and under state law and our local bylaw, you have to have a public hearing to remove any of those trees. And in that one, there's usually some kind of replacement of in-kind trees and or donations to our tree revolving account. So, and there's a process for that you would walk through, and that would be a public hearing. So the first two conditions that I would recommend is that you show any stone wall that runs along that Armsby Road frontage be shown on that plan. That's one condition. The second condition is if the stone wall is along or in the Armsby Road right-of-way, any alteration to the wall or any removal or alteration of trees in or on the right-of-way cannot take place until a public hearing has been held and alterations approved in accordance with Mass General Law. Okay? The stone wall can be altered without a hearing because this is not a scenic roadway, but no tree removal can. Stone wall can only be altered in agreement with the town, so there still has to be an agreement between the applicant and the town, if it's a shared boundary line. The third condition I would recommend is that, and the board can discuss this, the applicants may wanna discuss this, that 95 Armsby LLC and the future retreat lot owners shall maintain the drainage culvert on the lot, so the one that's on the lot, in a sound and fully functioning condition to prevent backup of drainage onto any adjacent property or the roadway. If it can back up onto the property, it can potentially back up onto the roadway, so you just gotta maintain that culvert in a safe and sound condition.
If I may make one point, just to be specific about the drainage.
Sure.
This area here, kind of in the middle here where the culvert goes through, is in a flood zone, so it wouldn't be possible to prevent any flooding in that area. But, of course, Mr. McGill would wanna maintain the
And I don't
culvert.
think that there's a culvert going out of that catch basin, that's just a percolating catch basin. There's no pipe leading from that catch basin.
I thought there was, cause I thought there was a tree across the end of it.
So you think it's a
There was
dry
no-
well? Is that what you're saying?
It's like a
dry
dry well, yeah,
well?
so there's no culvert. There's a catch basin there, but that's
No, I
just
thought there
a
was,
dry
cause,
well.
cause it was backing up and you had
The
removed the
trees that
from
were
the-
down were just laying in the woods where the water went, you know, on the surface into the
Okay.
woods, you know. But that, catch basin that you're seeing is not, there's no pipe right now there. It's
I
just
think if
stone
you
around
look
it.
into it, there is actually.
I thought there
Yeah,
was.
there
How
is.
big is it? The pipe?
I don't know, I don't wanna go, I'm not
So
one for
yours,
your
whatever,
properties.
no.
Yeah, well, I know you, I know.
I've never,
was there
I've never
before
seen
you
where
was,
it
but-
discharges too.
Okay,
Yeah, cause I've been in the woods there, when we pulled the trees out to try to clear the thing up to get the water flowing better, you know, we did find some debris where it entered the woods, but I never really saw a pipe leading from that
okay.
in the woods, so if you saw a pipe heading out of it, I don't know where it goes, you know.
Yeah,
That was there long before we ever
So
came.
whatever structure is there to maintain the conveyance of drainage flow,
Mhm.
you wanna be, that needs to be maintained. So whatever structure is there, whether it's a dry well or,
Yeah.
yeah, that needs to be maintained.
Thank you, Mark. Any other comments from the public? I'm ready for a motion, if the board is.
All right. I'll make a motion, we approve this retreat lot on the following conditions: approval of all other applicable boards, departments, and commissions. 2, the driveway shall have a maximum grade of 12% and a minimum paved width of 12 feet width and 15-foot cleared width. 3, the house number shall be clearly visible at the street. 4, no occupancy permit shall be granted until all conditions and requirements of this bylaw are 100% complete. Number 5 is that the show the stone wall along Armsby Road frontage on the plan to be endorsed prior to endorsement. 2, if the stone wall is in or along the Armsby Road right-of-way, any alteration to the wall or any removal, alteration of trees in or on the right-of-way cannot take place until a public hearing has been held and alterations approved in accordance with Mass General Law. And what number am I up to? 7?
5.
7.
7.
Go ahead.
So just to-
That, so this,
As soon as he makes the motion, there's a second, then we can discuss.
so 7. I think that it's the retreat, future lot owners shall maintain the drainage, culvert or other on this lot in a sound and fully functional condition to prevent backup of drainage onto adjacent properties or roadways.
How'd you word that? Can you say that again?
I
Sorry, it
left,
sounds
I
so
left
good.
Ormsby LLC out of that.
Right, so the lot owner, so
The lot
current
owner.
and future lot owner.
The lot owner is responsible to make sure that water can freely pass, I assume, under their driveway, right?
Freely pass. So you're just, that the water continues to be conveyed freely under
In the
that
direction that it's currently flowing.
All right.
So it's
So
not,
we're not talking about structures or anything, you're just saying that water needs to keep flowing,
it needs to keep flowing and it needs to,
so it doesn't.
allow
back up.
that so it doesn't back up on the, east side of that driveway.
So we're not gonna worry about whether it's drywall or pipe, it just needs to keep moving so it
It
doesn't
needs
back
to
up.
move through there, as it currently does. Yes? That makes sense?
Yes.
That's the motion, I need a second.
Second.
Thank you, Wally.
Okay.
Here, having a second, that means we can have a discussion on the board, if there's any discussion. Brilliant, good job.
Well,
All right. Discussion from the public.
The only question I have, did you say that they have to pave the entire driveway?
It's a requirement by law,
Is that-
15 feet paved, 12
it
feet
12?
paved,
Yeah.
15 feet cleared, so you want 15 feet clear in case a fire truck or something needs to get out there, needs to go off the edge or whatever, but it's 12 feet paved.
And in addition to that,
Okay, then.
yeah,
It's a bylaw requirement, so you gotta be okay with that.
in addition to that, all the utilities are underground.
Underground utility,
That's in the bylaw.
that's a special permit, so the standards that the residents voted at over time, you meet them or you don't get it. those base requirements. And then the board can put in some additional ones like they did those last three are optional.
And so to answer some of the public, you wondered how many houses are gonna be built on these what is this acreage? 6.2 acres. This special provision only allows for one. This lot can no longer be subdivided. This is one lot
Ever.
forever.
So a covenant gets
The
filed
covenant.
with the registry that, is signed by the applicant that says they'll never divide it. And then the plan gets recorded at the registry that says they'll never divide it. The only weird thing about that is if they never pull a building permit, they can switch it around at some point into something else, which would require a public hearing and blah, blah, blah. If they pull a building permit, if the house goes on here, it's locked in, done, okay? So, they're agreeing it will never be further divided. If they never go forward, they can change things. The minute they go forward, that's that.
The history of that is it was brilliant planning 25, 30 years ago when Scott and I were on the planning board, and it was becoming real
Good work,
clear
Bob.
that if we made everyone have 200 feet of frontage, all Sutton was gonna have was subdivision after it just, you had to give people who had pieces of property a chance to sell the property. They're trading off, they're giving us a bunch of acres that'll be open. Because we're allowing them to have a narrow driveway, but it couldn't be two, it has to be 50 feet.
So in the past.
That's why this had to move.
Right, so
and
in the
it's an
past,
effort to
that might be
create-
a roadway with two lots or three
To make
lots.
sure there's open space, and I didn't get your name, I can't remember your name, but to make sure that there's open space and there's trees, and I think, I'm not speaking for the developer, why would you why would you pay money to cut down trees, just to cut down trees? You want, most developers,
All the time.
people who buy retreat lots like the privacy, they like to be able to have the privacy, and if the trees are there, you don't have to plant them. But again,
Yeah, you never know, that's why I wanted to
You
just
own
let
it,
you
you
know
can do
what
whatever
the
you-
facts are.
You can-
Anybody can clear their lot, as long as they're outside of jurisdiction. So I just wanted to be clear on that, so nobody was surprised. Hopefully that won't be the case, but you can do it.
okay. Any more comments? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 4-0-0.
14 days to get it on file, it'll probably be on file actually within 2 days. All of the
Need
butters
motion
will get
to close
at
the
least
hearing.
an abbreviated notice. If you've been at the hearings and I've noted your name, I'll probably just send you the full decision, so you have more detail, okay? And, there is a 20-day appeal period from the date that the permit goes on file at the town clerk's office. After 20 days, the permit gets signed out, and then Byron will return to us with this plan, for signature, along with the covenant. The covenant has to be ready to sign, so we'll need to work on that, make sure that's complete in the next 20 days. The covenant will be voted to sign, the date of that will be entered upon the plan will be signed, and then it all has to be recorded. The plan, the decisions, the covenant. Everybody clear?
I'll need a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Any comments? I'll make a motion that we close this hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 4-0-0. Thank you everyone for coming in. Good job, Aaron.
Go.
Need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
5 minutes to 8. All those in favor?
Aye.
Who was the
Opposed?
second? Miriam?
Yeah,
Sure.
abstained. All right, you got it. Thanks.
Watch out, if you're gonna-
Yeah,
Alright.
I got something I wanted to bring up.
Bill, good to see you.
This article,
Welcome back. Make us proud.
there is a law somewhere
Welcome back,
hiding
buddy.
on the books
How's everything?
Good,
that is saying that solar panels.
As good as it can be. You survived the holidays?
Charlton,
Huh?
because
Oh,
they,
yeah, for us.
and it's
My-
all, you know, you think
Not
about
like it
it,
used to be, that's for
business
sure.
land, they're letting these things go in and they're not getting.
Yeah, no, it's, yeah.
Yeah, we
it's
wanna understand this then.
It's right here, you can
Yeah.
have
I
this,
don't have any,
look
I don't know
at
what
this
the answer
number,
is, just.
40, that's a mini,
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
on the
yeah.
state, generating this much power.
Shitload
Your
of
your
megawatts.
daughter's in Boston?
Wow.
That's not even a, that's a
Hey, I
big
didn't know
power.
that you thought about,
Okay.
Look at Mark's house. It fell through.
did they buy Mark's house?
They couldn't put the septic in, so the bank wouldn't make the loan.
I
looks
saw
a
the
lot
septic
different.
going in.
Bobby
He's
denied it
aged
and
for
get it
sure.
over.
Yeah.
It's too wet.
You know
I'm
what,
trying to
one
get
of the
his
guys at
bond
Cricket
money
said
back,
something like that.
because we are
Yeah,
pulling
yeah,
bond money
what's
from
his
him
name?
on 2 strips of land that
Yeah,
should
yeah,
have been
yeah,
transferred
we-
to
'cause we
Skyline
watched.
Drive, that somebody screwed up and didn't transfer that.
Bob's the guy.
So I hate to
But it
hold,
was so
because
wet.
he doesn't know
Couldn't
anything
do
to
it.
us
And
on
then the
anything,
frozen
he was
ground
just kind of a
came, and the
worker
bank
bee in
won't
a lot
loan
of this
money
stuff.
unless there's a
And,
septic in.
somebody messed up.
So,
where he
so
got in
everything got
Yes.
pulled, the Brighams will put the septic system in the spring.
I didn't know
They
Wayne.
may wanna try to buy it again.
Oh, yeah.
It was
I have
part
his
of the deal that
reservation,
the
so
I wasn't
septic
here.
system
wanna
was
see
gonna
it.
have to be put
It's
in.
more to focus, he
And the-
needs to
the other
focus
thing
on,
that-
because
Oh,
things
I
are.
understand that.
The well,
He did,
the
you know,
original
he
well
sold
for that
90
house,
of the
the
cows.
shallow well,
He only
was
has
under the
25 cows
driveway.
left.
It's not uncommon,
Big
it's under the house.
Yeah,
The
So,
bank-
yeah,
the
it's
bank
the
not-
pressure's tough.
put loads of
Like
money,
that?
no, because they wanted to
Pressure
He's
to
kind of
the
bummed,
well.
because
They couldn't
this
even
was
inspect
a
the
place
thing
where
to
he
see
could,
if it was.
in the
Relax.
past,
So they had, so the
Get a
Brighams had to put a
permit,
well in,
but this
which
past year
they were
it's
gonna have to do if
chasing
someone
him
was
and
gonna
making it
not
worse
buy
on
it,
him.
yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, the farm, the well's inside the foundation.
It is.
Yeah, that's where it was. And,
What's up, Jeff? Good to see you.
so that continues to unravel, but everyone's still talking to everybody.
I was, you know, I was gonna make a motion and I was gonna put him on the board straight away. But
I
you-
wanted to too. but you
That's
don't
what I
want
want,
the-
that's what I was gonna do.
But you wanna be an
Cause you have the
alternate.
experience, I was gonna put you on the board.
I've,
So this worked, so that worked out, that's good.
Cause that was my plan, when I get here, that's what I talked to Jen,
well,
I
this
said, Bill.
gentleman has been coming to the meetings for months, so.
Yeah, but you had the baptism of fire, so I'd say.
I was on the board when we created the retreat lot, I was gonna jump in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wanted to pat yourself on the back too, right?
No, it was brilliant planning, back then. But I also hear you wanna make sure.
No, not that, maybe I'll have a little more time and write down.
And Marion's wrestling with health issues. Yeah, and when she was diagnosed with cancer, when she was gonna get up to Marion, that don't mean, she watched one meeting on TV and said, I'll never miss a meeting again, I'll come to them sick. And if I'm tired, I'll
Yeah,
I
they're
gotta go
terrible to
home.
watch.
But it continues.
You gotta sign
She's
this.
on, she's done, how many years now?
9 years.
Yeah, 9 years, so, she's been,
That's my expiration date.
and she's, everything's
haven't been
good
on.
today. You know, so it's, but it's no fun.
Yeah, I'm on a maintenance team.
Is that, how about that, is that great?
It's all
It's
right.
the only option,
Yeah, exactly, it's keeping me alive.
yeah, and that's good, because we have meetings when she's tired, you know, and so you go home, gotta go home. But that's why we need alternates, you gotta make sure it's, yeah.
Thank you.
Not a day goes by when I don't get some. Kid works for me as mother fast. Battled for 5 years.
Yeah, and it changes. You gotta do a few more, kid.
Oh, I do?
I'll let you guys go.
Frankie Noel? I haven't.
I'm trying
I've
to do a
seen-
double take, man.
I've seen him,
He looks like,
I've seen him.
oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen him in bars and stuff.
Should go say hi to him.
Trust me.
Yeah, no, that doesn't come into the center.
I wish he wasn't here with Miguel, but your picture.
Well, you figure maybe when they get settled down, want to settle down, they'll come back here. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can see where
Still remember how to spell my name.
How How is everything? Good?
Good.
Yeah? So what is the news? Right now, maintenance?
Maintenance.
Cancer-free?
Yes.
Yeah?
And I have scans coming up within this month, and, but my doctor, gave me a good, like encouraging, like, we've gotten this far, we still have many years.
Good, yeah.
Which is shocking.
Thank you, Jesus.
Because
Good.
there is something to this attitude thing.
Yeah, no, good for you. And there's been some new stuff that they did with you.
Yeah.
And there's more stuff coming.
So,
Hopefully.
whatever they're giving me something called Gemzar now. And that seems to be, I haven't rejected it, that,
Yeah.
it's,
All the young people that
it's
start now
working.
off, just
Yeah.
staying on it.
Good.
20 years old, they get
All
a
right.
puppy.
How's Dan? Is he back? I heard his boat. I saw Dave Richardson
Write a
today.
memo.
They're both in New Bedford?
New Bedford.
New Bedford.
Yeah.
So he can drive down there and work. How did he get it there? Did he drive?
Oh, I did fine, yeah, I had like 7 people in the
No,
south.
how did the boat get from?
Oh,
And I was one of them.
ordered it up from Maryland,
They had to pull the old
which
dog
was
out.
crazy.
He drove it in the water.
That was
How long
actually
left
the
it?
work I did a job with my son.
But they had.
Went down there and
Oh,
worked
that
with
was
them.
really good.
Yeah, that was good. We were in Miami.
So, isn't it?
We're staying
wonderful?
right downtown Miami.
Yeah, he and Joan, and they, and the boat did really well.
I remember that last week.
Nice.
A couple of times.
They won't be traveling
Both
in that
me
kind
and
of
Laura,
weather.
the town clerk, will help.
My
you.
son was there.
No, this
The
one.
boat is visible. Is it in the water still? It's out of
It's
driving.
out.
What's the time is
Right,
it?
so I want to go down and look at it.
I think they start
Seen it?
pulling papers
Just
in
pictures,
April.
Yeah.
And March.
Good. Well, that's good for him. So that's his focus right now is doing all the stuff you said he was going
Write
to
some
do.
disappointment, and then you turn it in.
Wow.
And, but she'll
Does he
work
stay down there? or
with
he's got that?
you guys
Pine Ridge.
to, make sure you guys are looking for different.
Yes, absolutely, that's what I
Something
said.
like an
I
hour,
obviously,
2
yeah,
hours.
whatever.
He gets there at 6 in the morning.
Does his stuff.
Your house is done?
No.
No?
But he did say, Dan
I'm just
said
hoping she'll go
before they go on the loop trip,
Yeah.
did he like to have all the,
One of the
did all
vehicles
the
was
trim
still on
after, so
the
you're
road.
learning